Welcome to Energy Talks, a regular podcast series with expert discussions on topics related to power system testing, data management, and cybersecurity in the power industry. My name is Scott Williams from the podcast team at OMICRON, and I will be your host. Hello, everyone. The complexity and dynamics of the power grid are constantly increasing, and at the same time, new testing priorities are emerging because of ongoing decarbonization. To provide customers worldwide with expertise and innovative solutions to test, analyze, and diagnose power equipment in this context, it is essential to keep a close eye on the customers and their respective areas of application. The requirements placed on test equipment vary greatly depending on the area of application, and product managers at OMICRON are the vital link between their products and customers and play an essential role in product development. In this episode, Joseph Schmidbauer gives us an insight into his work as product manager for the testing device COMPANO 100. We will hear firsthand how interaction with customers plays a vital role in his job. In this episode, he will cover current trends, customer requirements, and field experiences with power system testing solutions. Hi, Joseph. Welcome to this episode of Energy Talks. In fact, you've been with us before for an episode about grounding testing, so I'm happy to have you back as a guest.
Hi, Scott. It's a pleasure to be invited to this episode.
Thank you for taking the time for this talk about new testing priorities emerging due to ongoing decarbonization. Joseph, please tell our listeners about your professional background.
Yeah, actually, I studied applied computer science in Salzburg, and before I attended the HTL, which is a technical high school in Austria in electronics. With this background, I worked then a couple of years at the university and started then at Adaptive Regelsysteme in Salzburg, which is a subsidiary of OMICRONelectronics here in Salzburg. And I started as developer. And in the meantime, since 2018, I work as product manager for our battery-powered single-phase tests at COMPANO 100.
Okay, very good. So Joseph, as a product manager, you have a lot of contact with customers. Could you tell us more about this and how your customer interactions help you in understanding their needs and developing matching solutions for their applications?
Yes, Scott. Customer feedback is very important for us here at OMICRON. So the motto of our founder of the company, Rainer Aberer, actually some kind of vision. He formulated it back in then, and part of it was that the team should get its recognition for providing the best solutions to the customers. And I guess nothing motivates you more than having the right product for the right customer task. And this makes the customer happy because then there's a purpose behind your work. So therefore, we are always happy when customers tell us their wishes or when we have the chance to work with them on site to improve an application or, for example, as part of field tests. So you can try out a lot in the office or laboratory, but of course, you will never see the challenges that our customers face in their tough work every day. So in fact, after each field test, we came back with a lot of new insights, ideas, and that helped us to further improve our products. So of course, this also helps our customers to getting the best products for their tasks. And we are very, very grateful to our customers to have these opportunities.
Definitely. Well, thank you for this background. Joseph, if we talk about decarbonization, which is a big topic in the industry these days, what are challenges it presents in terms of the power grid?
Yeah, there are many challenges in this area. The following I find particularly relevant. For example, due to the expansion of the renewable energy like photovoltaics, the medium voltage grid must be enabled to handle these greater loads. And to achieve this, the medium voltage networks must be expanded. So the biggest growth in the networks is expected in the medium voltage sector. And in addition, for example, electromobility is on the rise. And in this context, also the charging infrastructures for electrical vehicles must be expanded and also maintained in the future. So due to these two things, the dynamics in the networks are changing. For example, in the past, you had only a load flow in one direction from the producer to the consumer, and now you have changing load flows in both directions. So for this reason, more complex protection systems must be used in the secondary distribution substations So the secondary distribution substations, that's the IEC term, they are also often called as local transformer stations or sometimes also as RMU.
Okay, very good. Now, going back, this is interesting that the load flow is no longer going in one direction. Are you referring to the fact that now with solar energy, that consumers can actually also feed into the grid? Is that what you're referring to?
Exactly, Scott. So they produce their own energy, and it can happen that there is on a transformer that there's more energy delivered back to the grid than from the grid to the consumers. And all the protection function and all the other assets must be designed for that.
Okay, well, thank you for that clarification. Joseph, what is the difference between conventional local substations and smart transformer substations in the secondary distribution grid?
So in the conventional stations, it's mainly a transformer and fuses that are used. And the term smart station is now often used for a station which includes the transformer, but instead of the fuses, also circuit breakers and digital protective relays, because they allow to react in a much more advanced way, and they allow also to monitor all the values and even allow a certain amount of remote control of the system. And in addition, also for this remote control, this so-called SCADA systems, so the supervisory control and data acquisition systems, they are used to provide this better remote control capability by transferring the measurement values from these small substations to a central station, like a control station. And that's done already in the high voltage level, but now that's coming more and more in the medium voltage level, so that an operator can see if there's a lot of PV energy transferred to the grid, and the voltage is then maybe higher at the remote transformer stations than on the big primary distribution substation.
Interesting. So what are the consequences if the power grid does not meet the new requirements?
Yeah, of course, this would have a direct impact on the grid stability. It's highly likely that there would be repeated interruptions in the power supply due to the unwanted or not planned reaction of the protection system to such situations. Such smart substations are therefore very important to ensure the network stability, at least at certain points, to be even stable under dynamic network conditions. However, regular functional tests are necessary to ensure the stability on a permanent basis.
Okay, very good. Joseph, what should be the framework for testing transformer stations in the secondary distribution grid?
So the most important thing is to know that there is a real large number of such stations. So in Austria alone, we have approximately 79,000 in operation. So worldwide, there are millions of them. And many of them need to be upgraded for these future challenges in the grid. And this, of course, means also a high demand for test personnel because they need to be tested to a certain extent, and also a high demand on test equipment. So there are specialized devices for commissioning. As you know, we have the CMC, the COMPANO. We also have the CT analyzer, and they have a large range of functions, and they're very powerful, but they are not always necessary because in many reasons we need to check only a few selected functions. And if such a check then fails, we can use these devices to do a more detailed investigation and find out the cause of the failure. So the idea is to have a good compromise between the scope of testing and the effort for testing to provide the best solution for the customer.
Joseph, then, which device would you recommend as a good fit for this application?
So, of course, I think COMPANO 100 is very well suited for this area, and I have some reasons for that because it's actually compact, it's very lightweight, and in combination with the battery operation, that's very, very useful because you can test mobile. And also, if you think about new stations or new PV systems, you often do not have mains power there. You would need a generator. And with COMPANO 100, you can immediately test there. So it saves you time and help to master these challenges. So COMPANO 100 is a single-phase test set, but nevertheless, it's sufficient to cover the most important protection functions. For example, you can use it to trip the circuit breaker, to inject the current, trip the circuit breaker, and to make a first assessment. Mm-hmm. And if you then find any problems, you can use our specialized devices to go more in detail. And in addition, this just single phase, but makes it light, small, and easy to transport.
Very good. So COMPANO 100 does sound like a very versatile device. What can be checked with it in a smart transformer station?
COMPANO 100 is suitable for checks on voltage and current transformers. You can check the burden, you can check the wiring, and you can test simple protection functions and check, for example, circuit breakers. But the device makes it also very easy to feed in current or voltage for checking the transmission, as I mentioned before, of this current and voltage measurements towards a central control station. With this range of function, it is ideally suited for recurring checks at such stations, and you need a good compromise between cost and effort. And I guess we have a very good solution for that. But of course, it can be used also for many other applications. And as I mentioned before, we usually also talk about checks instead of tests because we have our specialized devices for full-blown tests, and we use COMPANO 100 basically for functional checks instead of a full testing.
Okay. And again, these more comprehensive tests can be performed with OMICRON CMC Sabano or CT Analyzer, as you mentioned before.
Yeah.
Okay. So Joseph, you mentioned other areas or applications for use for COMPANO 100. Do you have any interesting examples of these?
Yeah, there are various examples where COMPANO 100 is used. For example, even in the distribution network, it's used not for protection, but for simple checks like polarity checks or wiring checks. But also grounding measurements can be performed with COMPANO 100. And in addition, we often receive requests for specialized applications, and we always try to find good solutions together with our customers. Maybe we can adapt existing things. Maybe we can plan new features for the future.
Very good. Okay. Are there any examples of customer requests for features related to decarbonization?
Yes. For example, we had requests from the rail sector, and the rail sector is growing in connection with decarbonization. So not only the high-speed connection, but also talking about urban transport. There's an interest in COMPANO for resistant measurements. So we got a lot of requests for that because it can fulfill some standards with 50 amps in this area. And it's used for resistant measurements on rails and the vehicles, but also for grounding measurement in railway systems. And with release 240, which was recently launched, we introduced a new protection feature based on this customer requests.
Interesting. Okay. Now, going back, we had this wonderful episode earlier about grounding testing. What is the importance of grounding measurements in these applications?
Yeah, of course, if you have a railway system, there's a lot of power involved. So you need to all the energy for the traction. And in case of a fault, then a part of the energy flows into the ground and causes some ground potential rise or earth potential rise. And this can lead to potential dangerous step and touch voltages. And of course, all the systems should be designed in a way that there's no risk for the passengers. And this needs to be also tested.
Okay, very good. Interesting. So Joseph, can you please tell us more about the new feature that you described in release 2.40?
Yes, actually, we got the request from a customer in China, but in the meantime also from other regions. And it's about protection because in rail systems, in urban transport, they often use DC power systems, and this requires different protective function compared to AC traction systems. So the operator of a subway was interested in COMPANO and wanted to test the so-called DI/dt function. So that's the raise of the current over time. So the faster the current raises, if the current rises faster than a certain amount, then the relay trips. And this can be tested now in addition to the regular overcurrent functions. In the decarbonization process, many energy-intensive industrial processes are being electrified. So this development often makes maintaining power quality a major challenge. So, for example, if you think about the steel industry, they have electrical arc furnaces and rolling mills, and they have a particular negative impact on the power quality. And therefore, compensation systems are used. And these compensation systems can be checked with a new calculated measurement function, which we recently implemented in COMPANO 100.
Now, interesting, you mentioned a negative impact on power quality, and in many ways, we're typically involved with testing different aspects of power systems. What do you mean exactly by power quality?
So as a consumer, you want to get the clean sine wave from your energy provider. So for example, here in Europe, we have the 50 hertz system or so. You want to get the clean 50 hertz sine wave. And because some devices rely on a nice quality of the mains energy. And the problem is if you have high loads, high inductive, high capacitive loads or switched loads, like for this electric arc furnaces, then if they're switched on and off, you have a lot of distortions. And distortions are so big that they're coupled back via the transformers towards regular customers and may have negative impact on their PCs, on their TV screens, and so on. And therefore, all the consumers of such a huge amount of energy with such devices are required to have some kind of compensation system, which can, let's say, remove not all, but the most important part of these disturbances, so that afterwards, a regular customer is not impaired by this.
So, Joseph, can we already estimate or predict what we can expect in the coming years in the fields of the power industry and testing equipment?
Yeah, Scott, we expect a higher number of individual participants and applications as the network grows. And with it associated, we expect also a higher demand for testing. And of course, as it grows very fast, we need easy-to-use test sets, which are very versatile for basic testing. And what we also expect is that we try to remove the barriers and support the customers to make it easier to perform these tests, to optimize these test sets. And therefore, also the interaction with the customers is very important for us. And we want to get their feedback and also have a close look to the specific challenges so that we can find new and very suitable solutions for such tasks.
Okay, very good. I have one last question for you regarding COMPANO 100. Now, you're based in Austria, and you have experience with the European market and also the international market. Could you tell me how the things you've been talking about also apply internationally? Do you see that customers around the world are experiencing the same challenges and have the same needs for such a convenient testing device?
Yes, basically, I would say yes. So it's many things are worldwide the same. For example, the electrification of the heavy industry, you see this in all the regions all over the world. For example, the transport is also the same worldwide. So we tested also this application in different continents. But for example, with renewable energy, it a little bit depends, because in some countries, it's still not allowed to have a small renewable, let's say a small PV system on your rooftop where you can inject the electrical power back to the grid. That's allowed in some countries worldwide, but not in all. In some countries, you get paid for the energy. In some countries, you do not get paid for the energy. In some countries, it's not allowed at all. So, but this changes over time. So we expect that worldwide more and more, let's say, consumer-operated PV systems will be in place. And this is a huge challenge for the secondary distribution grid.
Okay. Do you have any examples of other countries that are experiencing similar challenges to what you're seeing?
Yeah, for example, we recently have been in Turkey. They have a lot of electrification already in the heavy industry. So we tested there also with COMPANO. So our sales partner there is very active and has a lot of customers which are interested in this application.
Okay, very good. Well, Joseph, thank you for your time. It's been very interesting to talk with you about the effects of decarbonization, especially on testing and the need for increased testing or checks of the system, and also how many people can take advantage of the features found in COMPANO 100 for this.
Yes, thanks, Scott, for the interview. There is a challenge ahead of us with this transition towards more renewable energy, with the transition towards electrification of industry. And it's great to be a part of it and to contribute a little bit to help our customers to master this challenge. So there are amazing times. And thanks for the interview again.
Let me ask you one last thing. If our listeners are interested in finding out more information, especially about COMPANO 100, where can they go to find that?
Of course, they always can have a look at our website. It's www.omicronenergy.com/COMPANO100, or you find it also on the start page. And we also have a lot of videos which you can find on YouTube, for example. Just Google for COMPANO 100.
Very good. Again, thank you for your time, Joseph.
Okay, thanks, Scott.
Take good care.
Take care.
And a big thank you to our audience for listening to this episode of Energy Talks. We always welcome your questions and feedback. Simply send us an email to podcast@omicronenergy.com. Omicron has several years of experience in power system testing, data management, and cybersecurity in the power industry, and offers you the matching solution for your application. For more information, be sure to visit our website at OMICRONenergy.com. Please join us to listen to the next episode of Energy Talks. Goodbye for now, everyone.